I am sorry. Those were the words uttered by Asa Raskin, the creator of the infinite scroll, after realizing his invention destroyed billions of people around the world. This one simple feature turned us into addicts. Is it too late for us to stop doom scrolling? If you've ever felt this searing pain going up your arm at the end of a long day, it's most likely caused by an inflamed tendon that runs along the inside of your hand and forearm. And of the most likely causes of this inflation is infinite scrolling. Like any other muscle, tissue, or joint in our body, the muscles in our hands and arms can get aggravated with overuse. The repetitive, constant motion of scrolling might not be some grand act of athleticism. Still, considering how much time we spend swiping our thumb or finger up and down, it's no surprise that many have developed this pain from overuse. And it's not just our bodies feeling the effects of infinite scrolling. We're increasingly isolated, anxious, and addicted as we're bombarded with endless content that, for the most part, isn't improving our lives. Almost none of us can say we haven't felt negatively affected by a post or a video we've seen on social media. It's impossible to avoid. So how did we get here, and how did the infinite scroll become so ubiquitous in modern life? How does it keep us so engaged, and do we have any hope of escaping it? Humans weren't made to sit and stare at screens all day. Our ancestors were always on the move, running, jumping, and hunting. That's why I love the Olympics. It's a celebration of our natural athletic spirit. Speaking of which, let me tell you about today's sponsor, Gentle Bands. They make really cool men's rings from cool, ethically sourced materials like old spacecrafts or dinosaur fossils, all created in family-owned workshops. Their new sports ring collection, Athlos, is all about celebrating that competitive spirit we see in the Olympics. Made from tough tungsten, its Chiron ring is as resilient as the centaur from Greek mythology. Rings can be a hassle to wear during workouts or sports, but Gentle Bands thought of that. They include a chain so you can wear your ring as a necklace, keeping it close to your heart when it can't be on your finger. They also recently released cufflinks that show your class and your love of sports, from baseball to football, and my favorite, which I have here, is called the Somersault, with a beautiful texture that captures the spirit of the ocean in all water sports. The packaging is really nice, and you can even get the ring engraved for free. For 25% off, click the link in the description and use code APERTURE. Time to look up from your screens and tap into your inner athlete. Back to our story. In ancient Egypt, scrolls were physical papers that were dramatically unfurled, revealing paintings and writings meant to enrich society. These scrolls, which were used for centuries, were finite, singular items that expressed specific ideas. That finality is exactly what the concept of infinite scrolling has eliminated. Despite the lingering pain you might feel in your forearm, scrolling has also taken the physical act out of being on the internet. In the days of the desktop computer, we needed our whole body to scroll. We had to sit in a chair and use all our fingers to type and move one hand to the mouse. The early days of being online had athletic terms like surfing. They hinted at some sort of deep, active exploration of the internet. And then the screens shrank. The devices shrank. We could have the experience of being online without moving anything but a single finger. With the invention of infinite scrolling, the adventurous nature of being online started disappearing. It became a passive activity rather than an active exploration. Now it's less like surfing and more like exposure therapy. We're stuck in place with our eyes locked on the screen, and we can't pull ourselves away to experience the actual world around us. The inventor of the infinite scroll, web designer Asa Raskin, has now made a second career out of his regret for inventing it back in 2006. While the passive activity might feel good in the moment, it's hard to argue that it is good. Of course, there are important, educational, and amazing things to learn on the internet and social media. There's communities to be found and skills to be taught, but the endlessness of it all has made us slaves to the algorithm instead of curious, intentional users. Scrolling has become a key element of our digital lives, so much so that we sometimes don't even realize we're doing it. How many times have you picked up your phone and, seemingly without realizing it, ended up 20 scrolls deep on TikTok? Scrolling is so second nature that it's not even an intentional act. Instead, it's how we spend our passive time. The mega corporations behind all the popular social media platforms wouldn't want it any other way. Our instinctive behavior to scroll reinforces their algorithms and has created an entire economy built on our attention spans. If we stay hooked on our phones longer, we present more opportunities to advertisers to sell us things, and therefore more opportunities for large tech companies to make money. The infinite scroll makes this cycle all but certain. Human brains have adapted to consume what's in front of us. It's not just puppy videos and vacation pics that keep us returning for more. In a 2005 study, researchers presented participants with bowls of soup connected to a tube that would automatically refill the bowl. The participants ate 70% more soup than others with normal bowls without even noticing. You can think of infinite scrolling like that tube at the bottom of the bowl, constantly there to refill our brain with a soup seasoned with content without us even realizing it. Tech companies have hijacked our brains and gotten us hooked on their products by tapping into our reward system. The brain's reward system produces dopamine, a neurotransmitter known as the feel-good hormone. When we're hit with a shot of dopamine, we feel excited, elated, and motivated. We need dopamine to be productive, to feel creative, and to get out of bed. But social media triggers a massive and quick release of dopamine that makes us feel like we're on a high. Normal dopamine levels help us get through our day and are often released at a slow, steady pace. These big spikes in dopamine that we experience when someone likes a photo we've posted or discovers a video that excites us can be deceiving. They trick us into thinking we will only feel good if we keep getting those big spikes. And that is called addiction. You might have felt something like this if you've ever parted ways with your phone for a day or even an hour. When we're disconnected from that addicting infinite scroll, our brain releases the stress hormone, cortisol, because it's not getting the intense hits of dopamine that it's used to. Our neural pathways are used to feeling activated, and suddenly they're stripped of that feeling. For some of us, this can happen with merely a few minutes away from social media. But if you can last a day, you might start to feel your heart rate increase, your blood pressure jump, or anxiety set in. The lack of reward you've been promised by endless scrolling on social media is hitting you, and you feel deprived as the stimulus has been removed. This reaction, or rather craving, is exactly how social media companies keep us using their platforms, even in the face of our own unhappiness. Social media takes human connection and turns it into a drug. When we interact with social media, our brains light up in the same way as when we take drugs or drink alcohol. However, this drug on our phones that we can endlessly scroll through is available 24/7. The algorithm learns what we like and pushes us towards content we didn't even know we wanted. Our brain on the drug of social media isn't a brain that's sustainable. One way to know if the infinite scroll has trapped you in its fangs is by tracking the 3 C's. The first is control. Are you able to control your consumption and retain a sense of autonomy over your decisions when it comes to phone and social media use? The next is compulsion. Do you feel yourself regularly reaching for your phone, aimlessly scrolling just to feel like your mood is regulated? Have you become dependent on it to feel normal? And the third C is consequences. Are you suffering consequences in your actual life because of your social media use? Have you isolated yourself from friends and family or noticed emerging struggles with your mental health? If any of the C's apply to you, then it might be time to reassess your relationship with the infinite scroll. Even Asa Raskin says his goal was to create a seamless user experience, but he didn't foresee the consequences. He admits that the goal of the infinite scroll wasn't to help the user, but to keep the user online for as long as possible. He also acknowledges its contribution to rising rates of social media and smartphone addiction. "I regret that I didn't think more about how this thing would be used," he told London-based The Times in 2019. Like many of us, Raskin senses the dangers of the infinite scroll, and there's a lot of them. Endless content on social media reinforces negative thoughts and feelings. If we feel depressed or anxious, we have a tendency to seek out news or information that will confirm those feelings, leaving us in a harmful cycle of negative reinforcement. It can also worsen any existing mental health struggles we're having, whether it's other people's cute photos with their partner that make us jealous, or someone expressing their own sadness that reminds us of our own, or a clickbait post filled with anger. We're susceptible to falling deeper down the hole we're already trying to climb out of. These symptoms might include panic or worry, especially when it comes to the way we consume news on social media. Scrolling through catastrophe after catastrophe and hot take after hot take leads to a dark rumination of how upsetting the world is. Yes, sometimes positivity makes it to your feed, but we all know that negative and extreme content is what gets clicks. Once this sets in, you might notice that you struggle with sleeping. So many of us scroll right before bed, even though we know it's not good for us. We sit slack-jawed, our faces illuminated by the screen a few inches away from our eyes, sinking deeper and deeper into the depths of content, and without us even knowing, this can increase our anxiety at the very exact time we're supposed to be relaxing. Poor sleep can in turn increase stress and other mental health issues, so even if the content itself isn't upsetting you, the mere fact of looking at it before you go to bed can have adverse effects. Not to mention that an endless supply of information presents us with so many conflicting ideas, moods, and advice that we're left uneasy when we do manage to put down our devices. There are very many opinions in the world, and to try and understand them in bite-sized servings on social media is a recipe for confusion and anxiety. Even as some sites have taken measures to reduce false news posts, it isn't always about whether the information is true or not, it's that there's so much of it. We're forced to wade through a sea of opinions, ideas, facts, lies, and perspectives, and it's impossible to sort out what we actually believe.